Hi, everybody. Wow, so the election's over. I didn't win. However, let me rephrase that like I put in my video. We didn't get the outcome that we wanted, but we learned so much, and actually, I think did so much good. I think that it's important in life to never lose sight of the goal. And so in order to never lose sight of the goal, we have to accurately define the goal at the beginning. I knew when I decided to run for District 22, a couple things. One, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I really cared about people. I also knew that my chances of winning were really, really slim. But I also knew that running would give me the opportunity to have really meaningful conversations daily, almost hourly, sometimes minutely when you're knocking on people's doors. And we have to understand that where we are as a people in this room who are committed to being a part of a party who will always fight for justice and will always fight for the voiceless and will always, always know that we are on the side of choosing people over profit, always, but that is nothing to be ashamed of, and it is worth every bit of hard work that we can muster to do. I want to read you something. I have been inundated with really wonderful messages from people. But there's one comment that I got on Facebook that I just thought I wanted to read out loud to you guys. I don't know how many of you follow me on Facebook, so maybe I don't repeat myself. I mean, this isn't a test, but all right, I'll just repeat myself and then nobody has to. I made a post on November 1st, and it was just a picture of the 79 signs that I had left after I had ordered 1,000. Which I don't know if any of you have ordered 1,000 signs. It seems like a great idea, and then when the UPS man drops them off on your front porch, you're like, what did I just do? How am I going to possibly hand out, one, two, anybody want to say 3, right? I mean, this is a daunting job, and to which my amazing husband of 36 years just walked by for months, these boxes sitting on the porch that were getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But anyway, I made a post on Facebook that showed the last 79 signs on my front porch because to me that was a big deal. That meant 921 signs were in someone's yard somewhere. And quite honestly, one of the things I learned is that the people that you believe love you the most and will support you the most in your friend group will not. They won't. Because not everybody's brave. And that's okay. But we play a part in helping people become brave. And we do that by knowing that we are on the side of right. And we do that by listening to people and hearing their stories. And then those stories propel us forward. And when we do that with conviction, other people get brave. And courage is what we're lacking. Courage to not vote straight ticket is what we're lacking. So anyway, I made this post of these signs, and then I got a lot of really wonderful comments. Some of you might have been some of those comments, but I scrolled down through here, and that morning, and I have one that I just want to read out loud to you because I think it summarizes so much. This guy says, every morning for the last 4 years, I have pressed a little button on the side of my phone to wake it up, knowing that I was going to read the news and thinking to myself, okay, Gibson, what fresh new hell do we have to go through today? Right? I did the same thing this morning. And after reading about the dead and the infected, after reading about the idiots in trucks trying to run a campaign bus off the road in Texas, and the president's self-entitled, self-righteous, self-serving son-in-law say, but he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful, talking about black Americans, as if any single American sits around saying, nope, I don't want anything good to happen to me today. After all that, I sheepishly opened Facebook knowing this is a whole different level of fresh new hell. The words of a divisive narcissist trickling down through the entire electorate and lighting people's pants on fire, myself included. I've lost my cool too many times in the past 4 years, muttering too many FUs to people I actually like, but politically disagree with. Then I scroll down and I see this post. And for a second, it's a weird feeling. It's a feeling like we can change all this if we want to. Even on the local level, we can change the trajectory from only caring about our own personal liberties and freedoms to caring more about each other. It's a weird feeling because it almost feels like hope. And after 4 years, I forgot I was allowed to do that. We need a change. The current situation is unsustainable. Thank you, Kelly, for running like a mother and giving me a little bit of hope. I'm not crying because we lost. I'm crying because there's still work to be done. Yeah, I worked hard. How else do you do it? I mean, doing it halfway is a disservice, not to the campaign, not to me, but to all the people that are counting on somebody to hear them. My phone, my Facebook, my email was flooded with stories of people that are really hurting, and they've been shoved down so many times. They've stopped telling people how much they're hurting because they don't know there's hope. So that's what we are. We are ambassadors of hope. We are the people who are willing to say, I see you, I hear you. Yes, that is not just, and I am willing to be your voice. Because like it or not, some voices have a platform. They just do. But I also know that I know that platform comes with responsibility. We owe it to people to care. And we owe it to people to do what we can. And what I can do is different than what you can do, is different than what you can do, is different than what you can do. And so we don't judge each other in what we're doing, but we know that we are companions in this journey. And then there was a pandemic, right? So I'm running for office. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know I care. There's a virus, so how do you do that responsibly? I hate talking with this thing because I want you to be able to see my face, right? But I also love you, and I care about you. So, you know what I look like. It's okay. I could tell you a billion funny stories if you watch me on Facebook, because I tried to make a video post every single day so that people would know what I was doing, so that they knew that I cared, so that they knew I was working for a few reasons. One, people are counting on me. Two, people gave me their dollars. People gave me their dollars. Those dollars are minutes of their life that they traded. And then they entrusted those dollars to me. My biggest donation was $10,000 from a man who now lives in Florida but grew up in Warsaw as a gay teenage man. And he said, go make change. I know what it's like to grow up in that environment, and I want you to take this money, and I want you to try to make change. The smallest donation I got was $5 from someone. That matters. I got those a lot. One day I was standing in our barn party talking, and Brian was there for this, and a veteran was there on oxygen pack on his hip, and he's sharing with me his struggles with the VA, and the bills that he was getting even through the VA that he couldn't afford, and how they were taking those bills out of his Social Security, and how unfair he felt like that was. And then when we were done talking, he reached in his pocket and he pulled out all the cash that was in his pocket, and I didn't even look at it. I just was so grateful, and I put it in my pocket, because that to me is the most awkward part of this whole thing. That night I went in my house and I took it out, and it was $41. It was two 20s and a $1 bill. It just that he had just had in his pocket and he took out and gave to me. One day my treasurer called me to say that she got something in the mail from somebody in Carmel, Indiana. And it was a $10 money order. If you've watched my videos, you've seen me talk about this. Someone in Carmel went to Kroger with $10 cash, plus whatever the fee is, got me a $10 money order, looked up on the state website the address for my and sent it to her with a handwritten note. The paper was all folded and it said, I still have it. I still have it. These are important. And it says check enclosed. So I open it up, you never know. I mean, another $10,000, I don't know what it's going to be. and it's a $10 money order from Kroger from someone who doesn't even live in my district. And it's folded in a piece of paper with a handwritten encouraging note at the top and then an arrow pointing up, down, side, side at this money order that's been enclosed in this paper. That took some effort. That took some effort. One woman asked for a banner on State Road 19, and I went and gave her signs, and then my son went later to give the banner, and then he got in the truck and took a picture of this $25 check that she had written, and she told him, I usually give $25 to the Animal Welfare League, but I figured they can go 1 month without, and I'd rather give the money to you. And then she proceeded to tell me about how her husband had died 33 years ago from a work injury that somehow her employer never had to pay for, and then her daughter died from an undiagnosed brain tumor that she suffered with for 6 years, and she's still paying the medical bills, to the point that she can't go to the doctor when she needs to go to the doctor to take care of herself. And what she said to me was, I hope that someday when you're a representative, you will remember my story. Her check is framed. I won't cash that check. I had a mom message me just the other night to say, is this right? My daughter works at a big factory that's doing really well. She hasn't been there a year yet, and she got pregnant, and so she hasn't earned her FMLA. She can't take time off, so she's going to be fired. Is this right? Guys, is this right? It's not right. It's just not right. So I have been, I had a preacher try to get me saved, which was really interesting because by the time we left, I found myself praying that he would become saved after I walked away, because I thought he has no idea who Jesus is. This man has no idea who Jesus is. And then I got chased by a dog. If you saw that story, that story was probably my favorite, because I was canvassing with Vicki, which I don't know if you all know Vicki Morton. She is my 67-year-old campaign treasurer who, when we were canvassing one day, we got to mile 9 and I was getting tired, and she said, we can do one more neighborhood, and that was our 10-mile day. And in our last neighborhood, I was walking along, and there's a house up there with Kurt Knisley signs in their yard, and she goes, oh, we can skip that one. And I said, I don't skip any house. I do not skip any houses. And so I thought, I'm just going to go up there. And at the time, it was during the virus, so I was just hanging things on doors. And so I went up to his side door, because I could tell nobody goes in the front door, and I just hung it on his little door handle there. I could see in his kitchen, but he wasn't there. And so then I took off walking, and as I'm walking down the road then from his house, this big old German Shepherd comes flying, bounding toward me, barking, to the point where you think the back legs are going to come up over the ears. And when I was like 6, my face got bit by a dog, so I have a little bit of an issue with puppies and dogs. And it came running at me, and so I'm yelling, stop, 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 and I'm backing up, backing up, backing up. And then I get scared, and I start yelling, help, help, help. And then the road dips down before it goes up into, and I'm falling. And as I'm falling, I'm thinking to myself, this is how it ends. This is how she becomes lunch for a German Shepherd. Because, how are you going to stop a German Shepherd? I'm a 55-year-old grandma. What the heck am I going to do? So Vicky's like 2 houses up the way, and I'm yelling, help, help. And so the guy comes out of the house and does, like, you're never going to believe it. He says, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you. It's just a puppy. Don't worry. It does this to everybody. It's not going to hurt you. And I'm like, okay, everybody says that. Meanwhile, call off your dog. Anyway, he calls off his dog, and I'm like, by this point, I'm apologizing to him. I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, because all the neighbors now are out looking at this state rep candidate, right, who's been yelling help at the top of her lungs and falls down in somebody else's yard, so they're all out here watching. He calls his dog off, and I'm so sorry. I said, no problem, I just let it out to go pee. I didn't know anybody was out here. I'm like, how could you know? Meanwhile, I'm thinking, a kid on a bike. We're in a neighborhood. This could be terrible, right? So I said, no problem, it's okay, I'm fine now. And so I take off running. And so Vicki stands about this tall. She's a tiny little thing. And she's just a powerhouse, So she's walking, she's like, what do you want to do? What do you want? You want to go home? Do you want to go back to the car? It's okay now, we don't have to finish this neighborhood, it's all right. Whatever you want to do, we can do right now. I'm like, Vicki, we came to do this neighborhood, we're going to do this neighborhood, let's just stay on track and get this neighborhood done. So we're doing our neighborhood, we finish it up there, we come back, and we're walking down the side street. We got one more street to go, my car's at the end, and we're hitting both sides of the road. And I hear this little car coming, the loud muffler coming around the corner, and it pulls up right beside me, and I'm like, what is this going to be? What's the guy? It's the guy that owns the dog. And he's like, hey, I just wanted to apologize one more time for what my dog did. I'm like, really, it's okay. I just want to make sure that you understand if a kid's on a bike, this could be bad, he goes, I'm going to go get a shock collar for it right now. I'm going to take care of it so it never happens again. I said, okay, that sounds great. And then he goes, are you running against Kurt Knisley? And remember, he had the sign in his yard. And I said, yes, I am. And he goes, so you're my rival? And I said, oh, no, sir. I am not your rival. Not at all. I said, I'm running to represent you. I'm offering my services to help you. And he goes, well, did you see the sign in my yard? And I said, oh, yeah, I did. I just figured the sign was there because you didn't know about me yet. And so I figured once I told you about me, you'd replace your sign with my sign, right? Because here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I know I'm the better candidate. I know that. That's not ego. That's just truth. And if anybody's out there wondering, gosh, should I run for office ever? The answer is probably yes, because you're here on a Thursday night. You're already caring more than most, right? But what's important to do before you decide to run is know that you know that you know that you're the best candidate. And what do you have to do to know that? You have to know who you're running. Sorry, I sprained my thumb pulling banners out of the yard yesterday because the job's not done yet. It's really humbling to have to go pull all your signs out later. You're walking, Kelly, there's big up signs as you're walking down your road. It has to be done. So anyway, yeah, it's ridiculous, but yeah, it looks dumb, but whatever. Anyway, you got to know who you're running. You got to know who you're running against, and you got to know what you bring to the table. So you got to know what your competition is, and you got to know that you can do the job well. And what do we bring to the table? Everybody across the board. You're going to bring a skill set that God gave you, that you can do really well, whatever that is. If you're great with numbers, then you bring a skill set that a lot of people don't have. They'll say they hate numbers, right? If you're decent at communicating, okay then, that's a skill set that some people have. But then we also have the things that we learn. I knew when I started to run for office that I can talk in front of people. That's easy for me. But I had a lot to learn about the legislative process. I had a lot to learn about issues that face people every day. That was where I came up short. So know your giftings and then do whatever it takes to make you the expert. Read, watch. I hit on record on my TV every day, Indiana Week in Review and Education Michiana and all these. I just started watching so that the issues that they talked about, I would know about. And it's a great way to do it because you got both sides, right? They're both talking, and then we can engage the brain God gave us and say, that makes sense or that doesn't make sense, or I need to look this up and I need to learn more. So know your giftings and then learn everything you possibly can that you are the absolute best candidate for this job. You really only have to be better than the other guy running, because there's a lot of great candidates who aren't going to run, right? So anyway, so when the guy is driving along and apologizing for his dog, and I said to him, I figured it was just because you didn't know me yet. I meant that with all of my heart. These are people who have been lifelong Republicans who went down to the Republican office and said, give me some signs. And then they gave them some signs. And because we live where we live, they figure either A, I have to have Republican signs in my yard because I believe in God, or B, I want to be on the side of a winning team, and that's more important to me than anything else. And right now, that's the side of the winning team. But that's changing. That's changing. So he said to me, oh, okay, well, tell me something about yourself. So I told him a little bit about Kurt, told him a little bit about me, let him know, and I said, listen, sir, all I'm asking is that you take a look at the website before you vote. That's all I'm asking. Go to my Facebook page, my website, something. Watch a video. Read an article. I said, Google Goshen News, Kelly Thompson, Kurt Nisley, and just read an article. Do something, educate yourself. He goes, you know what? That's the least I can do for you since my dog chased you down the road. I said, thank you very much. Of course, I have no way of knowing how he voted. But I do know that it was worth that. I mean, if I'd have been bet, it might have been a different, was it worth it? But these are the stories of what happens as we go through life, right? You just don't know. But I know that we had an opportunity for a lot of great conversations that were exactly like that. The thing about being a Democrat here is that people think you basically worship Satan. I mean, it's just the truth. That's the way it is right now. And the reason that I could bravely do what I do is because I used to be that person. I used to be the straight ticket Republican voter. I was the woman who wouldn't vote for a woman. That was me, I know. But I know what we're up against. And I also know what I believed that kept me pushing a straight ticket button. And when I decided to get really into issues and really learn and become experts on those things, I found out, oh my gosh, I'm wrong. This is wrong. And then I started to get brave. So we have a big job to do. Our job is to do whatever it takes for us to become brave, not arrogant, not mean, not divisive, not combative, that will not serve us well. We do not need more separation. We do not need more division. We need to call our friends and neighbors up to where we are when it comes to compassion and courage. And we won't do that by calling names. We won't do that by demanding our way. We will just increase their defensiveness and they will not hear us. I think there's a reason that the Bible talks about, this one's a toughie, but before you go trying to pick a speck out of somebody else's eye, you need to remove the beam from your own. And the reason is because we know how bad it hurts. If I have to take something out of my eye before I take it out of your eye, I can say to you, I know what this is going to feel like, and so I'm going to be extra tender with you right now. But extra tender isn't what we see in our political world. And so we remain divided to our own detriment. And that only perpetuates the suffering of all the people around us who are counting on us. So it takes a swallowing of the ego. It takes humility. It honestly takes trying your best to look a lot like Jesus. He did get mad. He got mad at the people who were making it harder to get to the Father. He never got mad at the people who were down and out. Let's try to go forward in that mentality. Because the other way is not working. So I was just, sadly enough, on Saturday morning, one of my friends suddenly passed away at 42 years old. So I had an election, trying to process that, staying up all night, and getting up early the next morning, trying to figure out who our president was going to be, because that was important to all of us. And then Saturday morning, I got a horrific call, and so then I spent that time with them, and that is a perspective shifter, right? We don't know how long we have, none of us do. Sitting at his house then, the next day, I'm sitting with his wife, who's one of my very best friends. They have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and just trying to wrap our head around what just happened. And I heard statements of people who felt like they were very, very right. And all the while knowing that I felt the same way about what I felt. But I knew it wasn't the time, right? This was not the proper arena to say the things that I wanted to say. We've got to know what those things are. I want to give you guys a chance to ask me questions. I know I just talked for a really long time, way longer, but truth be told, after everything that's gone on, this is one of the first times I've even had a chance to talk about it, because the other thing is nobody really wants to talk about it anymore. It's done. To most people, the election's over. You had 24 hours of people saying, well done, good job, hope you run again. And then meanwhile, life moves on and you're over here going, I don't know what to do with myself now. Every day was full, you know? And now every day's not full, and I have 8 puzzles that I'm going to work on or something, I don't know. Actually, no, I've started reading about modern monetary theory and the deficit myth, and I have been learning about how our federal government is either lying to us or doesn't know and is perpetuating the suffering of humanity. And so that's what I'm learning about now. So